Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at Gattaca.
Ah, Gattaca.
Yeah,
Great film.
it really is, and it's 27 years old now,
Wow.
but it's really relevant
It is.
for what's going on in genetics today.
Yeah, it predicted a lot of the stuff that we are now dealing with.
It really did. Like
Yeah,
it's kind of scary
it is.
how they saw this coming, like a future where your genes basically are your destiny,
Right.
and how people who are born with quote unquote superior DNA are called valids,
Yeah.
and they have all the
There's really
advantages.
advantages
And
here.
then the people who are just born naturally
Right.
are considered invalids and they're discriminated against.
Yeah, it's science fiction, but it's pretty close to reality.
Yeah, it really is. So let's kind of break down some of the things that Gattaca predicted that are now reality.
Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is genetic testing. I mean, in Gattaca, it was so easy. You could just get your entire genome sequenced and know everything about your predispositions
Right.
for diseases, talents, you name it. And today we're not quite at that level, but we are getting pretty close.
Yeah, it's getting cheaper.
Much cheaper and faster.
Yeah.
I mean, you can order one of those direct-to-consumer genetic testing kits,
Yeah.
find out a lot about yourself.
It's amazing how easy it is to get that information.
It is.
But it's also kind of, it's scary too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's like we're opening up this Pandora's box and we don't know what's going to come out of it.
Yeah, and Gattaca really warned us about that.
Yeah.
About misinterpreting this genetic data, people getting worried about things that may never happen, the worried well phenomenon.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole issue of genetic engineering.
Right, and enhancement.
Yeah, the film really dives into that.
Yeah, and the slippery slope of using technology to try and uh, improve human beings.
Right, like where do you draw the line between health and enhancement?
Yeah, exactly. And a good example of that is Vincent's brother in the film, Anton.
Oh, yeah. Anton genetically engineered to be, perfect.
Yeah, free from any flaws. And it raises that question, are we gonna discard valuable diversity
Right.
in our quest for genetic perfection?
Absolutely. And it's not just about individual choices either.
Right.
Gattaca really portrays a society where genetic determinism is like the law of the land.
Right.
This belief that your genes are your destiny, and it's a dangerous way of thinking.
It is, yeah. And Jerome, the character of Jerome, really drives that home.
Oh, Jerome, yeah.
Genetically superior.
Right. Engineered for success.
But he has this accident.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
tragic accident that leaves him paralyzed.
Yeah. And he feels like a failure because he's not living up to his genetic potential.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just heartbreaking to see.
Yeah. It's really sad. And another thing I thought was interesting is how Gattaca highlights the different speeds of scientific progress.
Oh, yeah, how certain fields advance faster than others.
Yeah, like in the film, genetics is moving at warp speed, right?
Right.
But space travel, not so much.
Yeah, that's a really clever contrast to 2001, A Space Odyssey, where space travel was supposed to be so advanced by now.
Yeah, like Gattaca saying, hey, the way we fund and prioritize science matters.
Exactly. It's not just about what's scientifically possible. It's about economic, political, all sorts of factors.
It's about what we as a society choose to focus on.
Exactly.
And speaking of things we need to focus on, Gattaca doesn't shy away from showing the dark side of genetic advancements,
Oh, absolutely.
like genetic discrimination.
Yeah, it's all over the film.
Yeah, and the erosion of privacy.
Yeah, like when Irene, Vincent's love interest, just gets access to his DNA without his consent.
Yeah, that's scary.
It is.
And it's not just science fiction anymore. We have real-world concerns about these things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we have laws like GINATIA, the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act.
Right. But are those laws enough?
Yeah, that's the question, right?
It's a game of catch-up with technology, and
Right.
it feels like we're always a step behind.
Yeah, it's a constant challenge to keep up.
Gattaca throws down the gauntlet.
It really does.
It makes us ask, what kind of future do we want?
Yeah. Are we going to use this knowledge to lift humanity up, or are we going to divide ourselves even further?
It's a question we all need to think about.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think we should take a quick break, and then we'll delve deeper into these ethical dilemmas and the societal challenges that we're facing with this genetic revolution. So before we go any further, I kind of want to go back to something we talked about earlier.
Oh, okay.
Genome-wide association studies.
Right.
That's something Gattaca seemed to predict.
Yeah.
And now it's like a major tool. in genetics research.
It is. It's huge.
So for people who don't,
Right.
aren't familiar with it, can you kind of explain what that is?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in the simplest terms, a genome-wide association study, or GOGAS, is like a giant treasure hunt
Okay.
across the human genome, and scientists use it to try to find genetic variations that are associated with certain traits or diseases.
So they're comparing genomes
Right.
of lots of different people.
Yeah. Thousands of individuals,
Okay.
some with a particular disease and some without.
Okay.
And they're looking for those tiny differences.
So it's not like you're looking for one single gene
Right, exactly.
that causes, heart disease.
It's way more complex than that.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the interplay of multiple genes.
Right.
And how those genes might increase or decrease your risk for a condition.
So they're looking at like a massive amount of data.
Oh, yeah. Huge amounts of data. And this is where, advancements in computing power and data analysis come in.
Right.
Because you need sophisticated algorithms and statistical methods to make sense of it all.
So it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, but like on a massive scale.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But these studies have found, they've found some really important stuff.
Right? Absolutely, yeah.
Like they've helped us understand like genetic risk factors.
Oh, yeah.
For so many diseases.
Huge range of diseases. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And this knowledge is helping us develop better diagnostic tools.
Oh, wow.
More personalized treatments, even preventative strategies.
It's like personalized medicine.
Exactly, yeah.
That's incredible.
It is.
But like anything, it's, there's always potential for misuse, right?
Oh, of course.
And that kind of brings us back to Gattaca and,
Yeah.
one of the big themes of the film.
Genetic discrimination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the film shows a world where people are literally denied opportunities based on their genes.
Oh, yeah. Like, remember that scene?
Oh, yeah.
Where they're, like, at the job interview?
Oh, yeah. The job applicants are just screened based on their DNA.
Yeah. And if you're an invalid, like Vincent,
forget about it, yeah.
you're stuck.
You're stuck, yeah.
With the menial job.
Exactly.
It's really disturbing to see.
It is.
How easily genetic information could be used to discriminate against people.
Absolutely, yeah, to reinforce existing biases and create these like new forms of social stratification.
Yeah. So even though we have Gen A,
right,
it's really important to be careful.
Oh, yeah.
About protecting against this kind of discrimination.
Absolutely, especially as genetic testing becomes more and more common.
Yeah.
And our understanding of genetics keeps growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this whole issue of discrimination
right
is really closely tied to another major theme.
Yeah.
From Gattaca.
Genetic privacy.
Genetic privacy, yeah.
Yeah.
The film shows this world.
Right.
Where your genetic information is basically public knowledge.
Right. Easily accessible.
And it creates this like constant sense of vulnerability.
Surveillance, yeah, it's creepy.
Like when Irene, Vincent's love interest.
Right.
She just like gets his DNA.
Without his consent.
Analyzes it.
Yeah, no problem.
Without him even knowing.
It's really unsettling.
It's really scary.
It is.
And it makes you realize that in the wrong hands, this information can be really dangerous.
Absolutely. A tool for control and manipulation.
Yeah. And especially as,
right,
genetic testing becomes even more widespread.
Right.
We need to think about, like, how do we protect people's privacy?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because the potential for abuse is huge.
Huge, yeah. Yeah.
And especially now with law enforcement agencies.
Oh, yeah.
Using these DNA databases.
Yeah.
It's a real concern.
Yeah, I mean, think about that class action lawsuit against the New York City Police Department.
Oh, right.
For allegedly collecting DNA without consent. I mean,
it's like right out of Gattaca.
It's crazy.
It's scary how relevant that film is.
It is.
So, we really need to be thinking about these things.
Absolutely.
About, the ethical implications of all this genetic information.
Yeah, and the need for, legal safeguards and oversight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that brings us to, this whole other area that Gattaca explores.
Right.
Which is genetic enhancement.
Oh, yeah.
And the film shows us, like with Anton.
Right.
These genetically engineered individuals.
It's designed to be perfect.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about, what do we consider normal?
Right, what's desirable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, are we trying to eliminate
Yeah.
imperfections to the point where we're actually, like, losing
Losing what makes us human. Yeah.
the very things that make us unique?
Exactly.
And I think Gattaca is kind of arguing that.
Yeah.
Maybe those imperfections are actually
Yeah.
what make us strong.
They make us who we are. They
Yeah.
give us resilience.
Yeah, and maybe trying to create this, like, genetically uniform society
Yeah.
is actually a bad thing.
Yeah, it goes against the idea of diversity,
Right.
which is, a strength,
Yeah.
not a weakness.
Absolutely. So genetic enhancement,
Right.
it's a really tricky issue.
Oh, it is.
And we need to, like, think carefully about
Be careful
the potential consequences.
for individuals and for society as a whole.
Yeah. And I think another thing to think about is, who has access to these technologies?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right. Because if it becomes like a privilege
Right, for the wealthy.
for the wealthy,
Yeah,
then we're just going to exacerbate
absolutely.
the inequality
It'll create a whole new class system.
that already exists.
Yeah, based on genetic privilege.
It's scary.
It is. It is.
So Gattaca,
Yeah,
even though it's a fictional film,
right.
it's bringing up some really real,
Absolutely.
really real
And
problems
some real issues.
that we need to be talking about.
We need to have these conversations.
Yeah,
About the ethical and societal implications of all of this.
absolutely.
Huh.
So let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about, what can we do
Right.
as individuals and as a society
Yeah.
to make sure that,
Right.
this genetic revolution
Yeah.
leads to a good place.
A good future for
Yeah.
everybody.
So we've spent all this time talking about Gattaca.
Yeah, it's a fascinating film.
Really is.
Yeah.
And it's made us think about all these choices.
Right. The choices we have to make
Yeah.
with this technology.
With this incredible power
yeah.
that we have now,
That we're
developing to shape, the future of genetics.
Absolutely.
So how do we make sure that those choices
right.
are the right ones?
Yeah. How do we steer this genetic revolution in the right direction?
Yeah. How do we make sure that it leads to a future
Right.
where genetic technology, it's a good thing?
Right. Where it enhances our lives.
Yeah, where it helps us.
Instead of defining us.
Yeah, not something that's used to, like, judge people's worth.
Absolutely. Yeah. We need to move beyond that whole idea of genetic determinism.
Oh yeah, that your genes are your destiny.
Right. It's just too simplistic.
Yeah.
We need to understand that it's a lot more complex than that.
Right.
It's not nature versus nurture. It's nature and nurture.
Yeah, yeah.
They work together.
It's like Gattaca saying,
Yeah.
even in a world that's obsessed with genetic perfection,
Right.
there's still room for human choice,
Absolutely.
for resilience.
Yeah. I mean, look at Vincent.
Oh yeah, the main character.
He was considered an invalid,
Right.
but he overcame so much
Yeah.
to achieve his dreams.
Yeah, he didn't let his genes define him.
Exactly.
He chose his own path.
Exactly. And that's a powerful message.
Yeah.
Our potential isn't just determined by our DNA.
Right.
It's about our choices, our efforts,
Yeah.
our belief in ourselves.
Yeah. So how do we make sure that everyone
Right.
has the opportunity to reach their full potential?
Yeah. That's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah. How do we use this genetic technology
Right.
ethically
Responsibly.
and fairly?
Well, I think education is a huge part of it.
Oh yeah, people need to understand
Absolutely.
what this stuff really means.
We need to increase public understanding of genetics.
Yeah.
Move beyond those sensationalized headlines you see.
Yeah, yeah.
And help people develop a more informed perspective
Right?
on the potential benefits
Yeah.
and risks of these technologies.
And it's not just the science, right?
No, absolutely not.
It's also the values.
It's about the values.
Yeah.
What kind of society
Yeah.
do we want to create?
Our priorities.
Do we value diversity,
Yeah.
or do we want to try to engineer everyone to be the same?
Right. And these are really tough questions.
They are.
And we need to talk about them.
We need to have those conversations.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure
Yeah.
everyone has a voice,
Yeah, we need to hear from everyone.
especially those who might be most affected
Right.
by these technologies.
Yeah. So that we can create policies
Right.
that are fair.
That are ethical.
Yeah, for everyone.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
and that brings us to the role of policymakers,
Right.
right? We need laws.
We need laws, yeah.
We need ethical framework
Ethical guidelines, yeah.
that can keep up with, you know,
Yeah, because this stuff is moving so fast.
this fast-moving field.
The science is advancing so rapidly.
Yeah. We need to make sure the laws are strong enough
Absolutely.
to protect people.
Yeah, to protect people from genetic discrimination.
Like gene is a good start.
It is.
Right.
It's a good start, but we need to go further.
But we need to make sure that it's strong enough
Yeah.
to really, you know.
To have teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be enforced.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other big thing
Oh, yeah.
that we talked about earlier,
Genetic privacy.
genetic privacy.
Yeah.
Gattaca, you know, it shows
Yeah.
this really scary scenario
It does.
where everyone's genetic information is just like out there.
It's readily available.
Yeah, and that could be really dangerous.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially with, you know, with the rise of DNA databases.
Right.
And so we need to make sure that people's privacy
Absolutely.
is protected.
We need strong safeguards.
Yeah.
Individuals need to have control over their data, how it's used, who has access to it.
It's like we're standing at this crossroads, you know,
Yeah, I like that analogy.
with all this genetic technology.
We have these incredible tools
Yeah.
that we can use for good or for bad.
And Gattaca is like a warning sign.
Yes.
It's like, be careful.
With the cautionary tale.
Think about the consequences.
Think about the long-term implications of what we're doing.
Yeah, because the future of genetics,
All right.
it's not set in stone.
It's not predetermined.
Yeah.
We're creating it
Yeah. Through our choices.
through our actions right now.
Yeah. And I think that's a really powerful message
It is. It is.
to take away from this deep dive.
It's a call to action
Yeah.
for all of us.
Yeah. For scientists, policymakers, ethicists, everyone.
Yeah, to really think critically about this stuff.
Yeah. To not just think about what's possible,
Right.
but to think about what's right,
What's ethical?
what's responsible.
What kind of future do we want to leave for our children?
Yeah, and I think Gattaca shows us
Yeah,
that we have the power to create a future
we do.
where genetics is used to empower humanity.
To uplift people.
Yeah.
Not to divide us.
Yeah. A future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
To reach their full potential.
Yeah, no matter what their genes say.
Exactly.
And I think that's a future worth fighting for.
I absolutely agree.